our attention.
The blue and white.
I'm not in blue. Everybody's in blue. I didn't even know.
You always stand out, so.
Sometimes for the wrong reason.
So we're here at the City Center. It's Thursday, August 10th, 12:10 or 12:08. And we'd like to call this meeting to order and do our roll call, starting with Julie.
Julie Rosh, School District Board Member.
Jim Pedersen, School Board Vice President.
David Harding.
Taz Murray, School Board Member.
Dave Knack, City Council.
Kay Jensen, the School Board.
Cindy Bryant, I said school board. Business administrator. Rebecca Nielsen, school board.
Gary Middleton, City Council.
And Michelle Capusi, School Board.
Keith Patel, Superintendent. Wayne Parker from the Mayor's Office.
Cliff Strachan. Council Office.
Do we need anyone else? Okay. And we will have the opening prayer by a scout from Troop 186, the Department of Sports.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day, and we thank Thee for the time that we have to gather and discuss with the City Council some issues that we may have and that we may be able to resolve. And Father, we pray at this time that the councils may be able to have the spirit to make the important decisions that will affect the Provo City. And we say things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So today on the agenda, we have the first item, a discussion on outdated or out-of-place signs on recently rebuilt school properties.
So I think we covered some of this in the last meeting. And if you could maybe go over the highlights. I think Board Member Murray was looking at if there was going to be any changes on Tiffany Drive with walking and back. Is there going to be if the city's looking at anything different for Edgemont or any of the newer schools around about? And I think you would explain the current crosswalk and the signage with the lights. That's still a pathway to our school. Is that correct?
Yeah. So again, with regard to school crossings, as you know, there's a very specific state statute and state UDOT regulations that define what we do in what circumstances based on engineering analysis. And we have asked our staff to go out and do some counts. Again, we'd like to do those next week after school starts, so we get a sense of what reality is once students are coming to and from school. And so we'll come back and after we've done that warrants analysis and take a look and see if we want to make any specific directions. The school routing plans didn't change based on what we got from the community councils. And so again, we'll just go look at what's the real pedestrian and traffic patterns before we make final conclusions.
And that process is underway.
It is, yeah.
At all of the.
And all of them, Sunset View included.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and if I'm not mistaken, it's actually a process for every school, every. Well, the studies are ones that are requested by community councils.
Yeah, generally they're requested by community councils, or again, if there's been a change. And so if you orient a school a different direction and the front door is not where it used to be, then we want to see exactly how the student walking patterns change. Do they continue to cross at the crosswalk? To what side of the street do they go up? And again, we're just trying to see where the demand is so that we can make the appropriate adjustments. So we don't do it every year for every school, but when there's an issue raised by the community council, or if there's been some kind of physical facilities change, then we'll respond to that as well.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. We'll keep you posted.
Okay. David. So second item, a discussion on business and economic development in Provo, presented by Dixon Holmes.
Which time I see the time?
Depends on the good news. If it's bad news, we just might really short.
Go quick.
It says you're supposed to start at 12:15, and you got 10 minutes to go. After that.
Okay, so informally, one of the things that I saw on an agenda or an email was just to know about why Trader Joe's went to Orem and not Provo, in spite of the massive social media blitz from Provo. And I will tell you that we knew when we knew that they were going to Orem, before it was public, I tried to convince the mayor to do a media blast, congratulate everybody that Trader Joe's was coming to Utah County, declare victory, and just go home. But I couldn't get him to do it. So Provo City has been working with and had interactions with, correspondence with Trader Joe's going back this far. Dave, how far?
Oh, long way good.
Okay, so 2.5, 3 years. Dave Walter, our redevelopment agency director, coming to us from California, had worked on a Trader Joe's deal in the high desert mountain for 10 years. I don't know the specifics behind the deal, but this is what I do know. When Woodbury invested or committed to invest $500 million, they did get a tax increment CDA incentive from the Alpine School District for $60 million. And when you have a $60 million checking account, you can do a lot of things with that.
This is specifically for Trader Joe's?
This is specifically for Woodbury at University Place, of which for the Trader Joe's, they will be relocating a bank and a tire shop to put Trader Joe's. It's kind of a hard corner, but it's not the corner of University Avenue or University Parkway and State Street, but it's the next curb cut up. And so I don't know if it's technically a street, but there's certainly a curb cut there and there is a light. My guess is that same bank account was what lured Tucanos to Orem, the mall there also. That one we had a little more information on, because at the time, Riverwoods had also offered Tucanos a fairly enticing package for them to stay in their location, but Tucanos had let it be known that they were looking for a larger kitchen space. And again, I don't know the particulars of the deal other than we do know, not publicly, but we do know somewhat of what Riverwoods was offering Tucanos. And so we can only assume that what was offered to them by Woodbury. And I do have to distinguish that between what Woodbury is doing and what Orem is doing, because we had some conversations with Orem about, hey, what are you doing? And we were reminded, and we probably should have clued in on this, is that once Orem and the school district and the county made that deal with Woodbury, my guess is there were probably some agreements, but my guess is also that there were pretty open in what they would do, because Woodbury as a developer would not want to be overly restricted on how they could use the tax increment on their particular deal. And so those are speculations, because again, we don't have access to a lot of that information. But I would have to imagine that part of the reason why Trader Joe's did go to Utah County or go to Orem Mall or the University Place is that is the highest traffic count intersection in the entire valley. And my guess is that there was probably an incentive that was very lucrative to Trader Joe's. When we've had conversations with them in the past, there was a couple locations they were looking for. And also, I will say that Riverwoods was also very, very interested in having Trader Joe's come there into the vacant Borders books, and they were not able to put that deal together. And that was in spite of knowing people, the new people who did concrete for Trader Joe's deals, and they felt like they had an inside track. They felt they were offering them a premier location, and that was still not enough to sway the deal. Just this week, in fact, it was Tuesday, we had a discussion, have had discussions with our own council about retail. And just as an open invitation to all of you on the school board, next Thursday at 7:30 down at the Town Center Mall, we'll be having a retail retreat with the council. And the school board members, you're certainly welcome to attend that. If you haven't received that invitation from myself, I would pass that on too if you're interested in hearing. We'll have a couple of retail experts there and all of the major developers that are doing deals right now. Town Center Mall, the Mix, Downtown, and Riverwoods will all be at that meeting. We do anticipate, though, in the near future, within the next 60 to 90 days, announcements coming out of the Mix and Provo Town Center Mall. Those are where the deals, those are where the announcements are going to be made, because those are the groups that are specifically working on them right now. And both groups are not ready to make any announcements, but they are definitely making and have letters of intent from a number of groups that they will be announcing here in the very near future for what they'll be bringing to their retail centers. And the city is not privy to that yet. They're still working on those, but we have been told that they are working on them, and we're as anxious as you are to find out what those are. Again, there have been very few deals in recent past that have not been incentivized at some level, either directly from the city in sales tax and or from a tax increment financing through a CDA. And I know Provo City, as a governmental entity and as the school board, there's been a lot of discussion about that, of what is the proper role of government, whose taxes go where, what's put into the incentive. And because all of you are elected by the same people and have an interest in retail, we need to figure out a way to work together appropriately. The appropriately is the working together, but also appropriately as far as an incentive. As part of the,
Are we not working together right
no, I think we are. I think we are, and we appreciate that. But no. That's an absolutely legitimate question. The city does not bring every deal to the school board, and I think we've been very open about that. And not all deals are the same, and not all incentives are the same, because every deal requires something a little bit different because of the nature of the project. And Dave will shortly talk about Duncan Aviation, and that had a certain set of incentives. I don't think it's any secret, though, that the school board has been hesitant to get involved directly with retail deals, but yet we're asking for you to be involved with the mix. And that is going to be a mix of different types. It's not purely retail. It'll have office, it'll have housing, it'll have hospitality, but it will definitely have a retail component to it. It will not have as much retail as it used to have. And we are in a different paradigm right now with our retail. I mean, I know we're in mixed company, but just really quickly, when you see articles like that from a national trade publication, and that's from the experts, and they're saying we don't know what to do either, that tells you that we're in a different day and that we need to be smart about it so it doesn't become a race to the bottom and that we just don't give away everything. And there are cities north and south of us who have done that. And I think Provo has been very prudent, but that prudence has a cost. And it's a conscious decision, and we shouldn't scratch our heads when things don't happen because we weren't willing to do anything. And that's not illegal or immoral, it's just that's the decision that we made and that we need to be comfortable with that. If we were to solve some of our leakage problems that we have, we would probably have a big box retailer in the middle of the river bottoms. Because all the river bottoms people, all the people, and when I say all, that's obviously a generalization, but people living on the East Bench, the river bottoms and Grandview, have to drive further south to get their goods and services, and it's much easier to go to the city to the north or to the west because those services are closer. That's not a huge mystery, and no one should scratch their head why we have a $200 million annual leakage from our community. A lot of it is the way that we're set up, but a lot of it is people want convenience, and I get that, but that has a cost, and so we have to face that. I think the city could do some things, and we've asked one of the experts who will be presenting next Thursday to give his insight onto some of those questions. Can the city, should we be doing more and bigger incentives to make some of these deals happen? And I'm not convinced that we necessarily should. I think we need to be prudent about how we go about it. Anyway, that was my super happy presentation. Sure.
So is retail the plum that everybody thinks it is? I mean, is that something that we should all be really interested in?
Well,
Or is it-
maybe
or is there
so
other things
the
that-
major portion of the funding for Provo City's general fund,
Yeah,
the highest percentage does come from retail.
retail.
From retail.
You guys are really motivated to get retail.
Well, no, yes and no. Yes, we are, but there's only so much that we can do about it, but
Right.
yeah.
Up to a point, you're motivated.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's almost become more a quality of life issue, though, Taz, it's been, why do I have to drive to Orem, even if it might be closer? Why do I have to go there as opposed to?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the point. And so again, in some cases, I mean, our retail revenue continues to climb, and it climbs at a pretty healthy rate, 5 to 6% a year, the last several years, even with Shopko leaving and Kmart leaving and so on, the revenue continues to go up, in part because the base is growing, in part because the formula also takes into account population growth. And so again, retail is important. It is not, we wouldn't live or die on the next big box coming or going. But it is a matter of convenience, quality of life, community pride to some extent. And those are all important. They may not always affect the bottom line, but they're still important as to what we contribute to the quality of living in our community.
Just to give you an example, we could have had Nordstrom at our mall for $14 million. That's what it would have cost cash. They went to Orem.
Yeah, what, George?
They went to Orem as soon as the incentive ran out, Nordstrom. So that's just, it wasn't a good deal for Orem.
Well, I don't know, it could have been. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say on the retail thing, the other benefit of having retail sales tax revenues paying for our city services, as opposed to just taxing the same, 49%
Right.
of our population. When we have so many nonprofits in our city, we're uniquely situated. Like other cities don't have as much nonprofit in there or non-taxable land in their city. So having some of that sales tax revenue where other people are contributing outside of our city
Provides a buffer.
also helps relieve the tax burden on our citizens. So that's, for me, that's one of the biggest reasons
Yep.
why I feel like it's important to keep increasing that sales tax revenue where we can.
So a couple other realities. Provo City has not created any new retail space as far as vacant or raw land since Town Center Mall was built and the Riverwoods were built, and those were back in '97. So we haven't plowed under any residential for a major commercial center. We haven't plowed under any major agricultural land or other fallow or even industrial land to make new retail space.
So someone asked me the other day, why didn't Provo City buy Provo High, tear it down and redevelop?
Okay, well, y'all can have that discussion.
You couldn't have afforded it.
And I will tell you that maybe the school district has some inside information they want to share, but I think we're all working off the same pages. I don't think anyone knows what BYU or the LDS Church is going to do with that property. We are hopeful that whatever they do, if downtown is the heart of our community, Provo High is the center, geographically the center, north, south, east, and west of our community. It's the most central location if you consider all points. And so we are hopeful that when BYU and the LDS Church do decide that they want to do something, that it'll be something that will benefit in many ways. And again, it could probably be a lot of different things, but we're hoping that there would be a retail component to that.
They tease us with a mixed use project.
Right.
It's no commitment.
Yeah. The other reality is I talked about the $200 million in leakage. So Provo could probably cut into that number a little bit, but the reality is that we benefit from the leakage from other communities. If we put a gate around our community and everyone else did the same thing and said you only shop locally, we would be even a bigger loser on the retail. We benefit dramatically from people crossing that line to come into Provo and shop, which is all the more reason why we need to remain relevant with new and better offerings. And that's kind of the nature of retail. Is something, someone's always looking for the next biggest, the next best. And right now, retail, the retail centers, and you see this at University Place, and you'll see the same thing at Town Center Mall, is they will be moving away, not wholesale moving away from retail, but they will be introducing quite a bit of interaction, of people, just social experiences and opportunities. And not all of it will be sales tax generation, but it'll be opportunities for people to come, stay, and then spend dollars. So entertainment, you'll continue to see the blending of malls and retail properties for a variety of uses. And you'll see that at the Mix, and you'll see it at Town Center Mall. And again, we're hoping within the next 60 to 90 days, but it is driven by them on what those announcements will be. But any announcements coming out of Provo will be from those two locations.
I think if you look at some of the mall redevelopment that's occurred around the state, you look at the Layton Hills Mall up in Layton, they have moved dramatically toward a more experience-based. They have an aquarium, for example, in the Layton Hills Mall. And so you kind of look at that and say, well, aquarium doesn't generate a lot of sales tax, certainly per square foot as the rest of the mall, but it brings people to the mall who then will add to the economic vibrancy of the rest of it. So again, as Dixon suggested, the retail paradigm is shifting dramatically, and we're watching it right before our eyes.
Along those lines, and I know what retail can mean for community also, and it just there was just a story on the radio that retail in the country lost as many jobs in the month of January as in the coal industry entire. We lost 89,000 jobs, retail jobs evaporated in the country in 1 month. And so, but I encourage, you know, I still think that's a good idea for all the reasons stated. Additional to that, could you tell us any activity along the sort of employment opportunities, business occupancy, commercial occupancy, what's happening with some of the commercial space in the Riverwoods, or maybe you could let us know the occupancy rates on the Nobel campus, and if anything is going on sort of in an employee and employer-based growth or development.
So one of the things that there's a lot of bit of chatter on social media is the lamentation of another business going to Lehigh. And the reality is that not all the businesses are going to Lehigh. There have been a couple prominent ones, no doubt. But most of the spaces that have been vacated have now also been backfilled with other smaller businesses moving up. Provo does not have an abundance of vacant office buildings or warehousing for these businesses to move into. And so we either have to build it, create new space, and that's what Mountain Vista has primarily been, creating new space. There was a time when the Nobel campus, and not too many years ago, was half empty, and now it's about 85% full. And so it's doing very well. The Riverwoods, again, Qualtrics moved out of their building into the Tahitian Noni building and have taken all of that. The Ancestry building still has some vacancy in it, but there's a group with the governor's office that's working on backfilling that, and along with ourselves. We continue to get requests from site selectors looking for 30-acre campuses or 200,000 square feet of warehouse, and we just don't have it. We've had some spec space built down at Mountain Vista. We now have 7 businesses that are down at the Mountain Vista Business Center, and a couple more coming online. At Southeast Provo, it's the old Ironton facility. It's out where KBYU used to be located, out on South State Street, across from the gravel pit in the county. So we have at least 2 or 3 more deals that are coming online there, and some of that is spec space, and by the time it's built, it's full. And so there's, again, very few vacant buildings sitting around. I mean, there are vacancies here and there. The Office Max on University Avenue, the old I'm Home is still vacant. That was a deal that was being worked on. There's someone that's currently looking at the Office Max on 9th South and University Avenue. That was about 25,000 square feet of retail. There's a local group that's looking to move over there. So again, there are some vacancies, and obviously the Mix, we wouldn't count as a vacancy because that's a redevelopment project, and that should be scraped in the next 30 to 45 days. The bulldozer should be showing up to take those buildings out, and then they'll start the reconstruction of the new facility there.
Hey, thank you for done, at least out of time.
Okay, very good. So again, just to encourage you, if you want to follow up on it or learn more, next Thursday at 7:30, and we can get that to whoever. And
7:30 a.m.
yeah, that's right, 7:30 a.m.
We'll go ahead and send it, we'll go ahead and send the agenda to your staff so you can distribute it.
Okay, the next item is an update on Duncan Aviation at Wayne Parker.
We're gonna have David, thank you. We're gonna have David give you an update on the project.
So thank you. As you know, Duncan Aviation's been a long time coming. They're still doing some final tweaks. They recently kind of hit a little bit of a bump in terms of a regulatory snag up in Salt Lake, but they're working through that. They believe they're going to be starting, so they are moving forward. They're still looking to invest about $70 million on their project out at the airport and to hire 400 to 500 people to start this off. And they're still very bullish on Provo and very excited about it. We're very appreciative of all the effort that the school district's made to host me coming and talking and blathering on about Duncan Aviation again and again and again, but I think it's going to be worthwhile. We have augmented that with an application to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for a Section 108 loan to put in some infrastructure. So that's going to be kind of on a tangent basis with the ramp construction. And we have finalized, well, almost finalized the development agreement. We're this close to taking it to our council for approval. So we're excited about it, and you'll be seeing that coming forward here shortly. So.
We do have a contractor
Yes.
under contract to build the ramp. They've begun sub-base process.
Because there are some infrastructure that would have to be installed underneath the ramp, so that they're doing some of that a little bit ahead. So
David, and Duncan started too. I mean, they
Yes,
have
Duncan's got
officially started construction.
there are deep pilings out there. It's not that they're abandoned, they haven't stopped any work. They are still moving forward, just a little slower than we'd like. So.
If I can add, just from a school district perspective, we are starting an aviation class in which Duncan is a partner.
Great.
That is starting this fall at Provo High School.
Who approached you on that, Keith?
It was mutual. And you could use a third party in that as well.
Questions or?
So beyond this regulatory hiccup, are they anticipating another one?
No, it's no.
That environment seems a little bit.
Yeah.
Great.
So the estimated time of occupancy or completion?
2019.
Thank you.
We hope that's not completion, but that's a phase. Isn't that right?
That would be the
First phase.
That would be the first phase, right? They
Which
still
is-
anticipate doing.
Which has expanded somewhat from the original first phase
Right.
that they proposed to us. So sort of phase 1 and 2.1.
Yeah, they actually ramped up quite a, no, that was bad, sorry, unintentional, but they actually included a lot more of their phase 2 in this opening phase, so. Yeah.
Okay, our next item is an update on the progress of Provo High School construction.
We've this past Tuesday, we took a big group out to Provo High. We're very pleased with our contractor. We're very pleased with our facility manager who's been managing that process for us. We're on budget. That doesn't mean there hasn't been surprises, but with building credits and other things, we're on our budget. We're on our time frame. It's a great looking building. It was really great to walk up and there's still sections where they're flying heavy iron with cranes, but there are sections that begun having the finishes on some of the halls. You can stand in a stairwell now and see where a window is going to be, and this is going to be a great environment for students. You walk into these classrooms and you see This is going to be an optimistic place. This is going to spur achievement. That's why we're in the business of in school is achievement, and that's going to be an inspiring location. We really appreciate, we continue to hear good reports from our contractors and from our facility people about how proactive, not just cooperative, but how proactive the city has been. And that is, that's certainly a service to the community. Provo and to our district, but to the students and our community, that's just been a real benefit. We anticipate some great things. Anything you want to add, Chief?
I would add that we expect that before winter comes, we will have the artificial turf down for the new stadium area, and also all of the grass turf down at our other location. Not sure about the soccer practice field, but definitely for both the softball and baseball fields. And then also, if you drive by it on Lakeshore Drive, and if you go from south to north, you'll count 3 academic wings that protrude from the main building. You'll also then notice a bit of a gap as the building finishes off on the north end. On that north side, there is room for a 4th academic wing that can handle growth in the future. So this was by design. FFKR is the architect on that, and they have just been outstanding. So we're very optimistic. It is coming in on time. We expect to be opening it a year from today. Keep your fingers crossed. I don't know what we're going to do with 2,000 kids if we're not open.
I've noticed a couple of comments that, BYU Blue has bled onto Provo High. No, it's not blue. It's the underlayment. It's a beautiful gray brick. And there are a lot of bright green accents all the way through. So we're not subverting the colors of Provo High.
Is the blue still a color? One of the Provo High colors? It should be blue, green, and white.
Yeah.
It was like a secondary.
Well, this might be ready to open. Next month.
Can you include that in the closing prayer?
We're cutting it close. We've had a lot of people. I was up there at 8:30 at night, and I saw probably at least 30 people on campus still. Right now, our facilities people have let us know that is really close. We have, to let you know sort of how close it is, we've already been in contact with the state to say, what's our 180-day count? What do we need to do there? If we need to just release some pressure, we're looking at various options. That's only one bus that we need to coordinate for an earlier out day. We don't want to lose the excitement of the kids coming. We're going to be ready for kids to come on Tuesday morning, at least to see the building if we have a release day, so that teachers can prepare their classrooms. The classroom spaces are done. Our teachers, I only see smiling faces of teachers when I go in that building, because they might have to be doing a little walking carefully through the halls of some construction. They get to their classrooms, the classrooms are done. And they've been working very hard to get everything ready for students. They're very excited about that. Our neighbors to the south have expressed some concern. They had big picture windows, and they have a 2-story building that's a little closer to them than it was before. They've been very kind to us. I've met with Taz and the superintendent have gone and met with those neighbors, and we worked with some landscaping because some of them frankly have lost their view of Timpanogos. They see a big red brick wall that makes us happy, but it's a little lost in them. But they've been kind to us, and we've worked with them, and we continue to work with them and about privacy and other things. And we feel really optimistic about those neighbors to the south. We're excited about that school. And
What's happening at Provo High today? Camping High.
Timber High, this morning we had our district kickoff. We had all our district staff in one place. We had a couple of things that we wanted to tell them in person. There's been, I know, even the city council members have approached, oh, I see teacher salaries are in the news. What's the Provo doing here? Are we just letting all our teachers go out the door? We're not. We haven't had to have a huge jump because we've been nice to our teachers all the way along. Every year we've gone up a little, and this morning we announced that, without request, but in the environment, we're interested in them, and we've Stephanie has scoured the books over the last year. We've done through her great management, the superintendent. We finished last year with a little money, and we're giving it right to our whole staff, not just teaching, but we informed everyone that they would get 2.5% of their salary additional in a lump sum payment in a check in November.
How did that go over?
They like it.
It's a great setup for my comments. They're in such a good mood.
Whatever you said, you were.
So they like that a lot, we believe that, from what we've done in the last 2 years in our negotiation this year with that extra 2.5, certainly that's a one-time payment, and we're still interested in going forward. We want to keep our teachers. We want to address teacher mobility, which is a problem unique to our district a little bit. We have a lot of young teachers with the universities close by, but they, a spouse graduates and they move on. And so mobility is always a problem, but we want to generate, this is a great place to work. And we're working on that very, very hard. We think that with this, we've at least matched and maybe gone a little over the raises that our neighboring school districts have done. And so we continue to look at that as we go forward.
I remember when Rock Canyon first opened, one of my highlights of my life was sitting in class and watching those big plastic things that were there instead of windows. They would expand because of air pressure, and then they would just pop together. And we as kids just thought that was the best. It was as good as firecrackers. So, new schools can be a great experience.
Yeah, I've noticed that, we said cafeteria, common area, we're a little behind. You might need to eat outside, picnic. That's been all smiles. No one's received that. We've been apologetic, and they've been great picnic. So it's been great.
The other topic for today, and I don't mean to prolong this, was we've got a book for each of you. We created this book out of Provo High School, Provo School District, stories about our kids. And it's called Courage and whatever it is.
Courage and resilience.
Courage and resilience.
Amid challenges.
We got a lot. I think when you look at Provo School District from the outside, you assume that it's a very wealthy, very high-performing, very homogeneous district, when in reality, we've got a lot of kids with a lot of challenges. Buddy Richards presented today on some of the data. Kim was there. In fact, 4 or 5 of our board members were present for that, and it was a powerful presentation. And we're encouraging our teachers to reach out, just make a little bit more effort, just a little more. Everybody's doing a lot right now. Make a little bit more effort to understand our kids, understand the challenges that they face, and let's get them graduated. Let's get them a great education and move them on. Okay, you can add to that if you want to, but
we need our kids. I read a book in the last year called "The Price We Pay," and they said that every kid that does not graduate passes on about $270,000 in expenses to the community. So that it's a community issue to us, a quality of life issue to us. It's a drain. If they graduate on time, those are the people that are starting businesses and doing great things in our community, contributing to our community. If it's not, a lot of that cost is actually, you hear about, welfare costs or crime. Most of that cost is actually healthcare. And a person that doesn't graduate on time, on average, will have a lifespan 10 years shorter. We've told our staff we're interested in making sure that we know that our kids' lives are at stake, at least a decade of their lives are at stake. We have to know what the stakes are. Kids come to us in the superintendent's theme for this is the kids we have. We teach the kids we have. Kids come to us with challenges. More than just giving them a set of skills, we need to convince them they're learners, that they can be better next year than they were this year. But they're lifetime learners because every job now that you go into, after 5 years, it's a different job. Even if it has the same title, you have to be a lifetime learner. And these are some great stories of some students that had some challenges, but were convinced that, hey, I can improve my life. That's what we try to do in 13 years, is convince them your life isn't at this point. Your life needs to be on an upward trajectory, and you need to believe in that trajectory. And we love the things that happen. I go to a lot of state meetings, and we have the best elementaries in the state. With the demographics we get, you go to Sunset View and you have, what they tell me, 17 kids that every kindergarten, it comes to them not knowing a single letter, not knowing their colors, not knowing their numbers at a school. And we get a lot of extra staffing. You look at where they're at the end of the year, they don't have very many kids that are behind grade level at the end of the year. And that's a lot of work that has to happen when you start with there. And there's a lot of understanding and a lot of effort. And we're proud of the things that we're doing, and we're going to do better about getting kids over the finish line and having them contribute to our community. And we had a great meeting this morning. And so please, David, take them home. I'm going to take one of those over.
And importantly, there's a quote from Shania Twain.
So, Mr. Connect, I think that I wasn't there this morning, but I've heard a lot about it, and I think that the data was collected not just from census tracts, but also from specific homes, and they followed as far as who's going to college and those kinds of things. And I think it's data that we would be interested in as a council too. And I think we should invite Buddy Richards to come and do that same presentation for us because of our interest in, especially some of our downtown, neighborhoods. It would be, I think, helpful to have the council give that same presentation, or not the council, to have Mr. Richards do the same presentation for the council. If we could get that on the schedule, or if he'd be willing to do that, I think it'd be beneficial.
He shows where, for example, where every graduate was last year. I thought it was interesting that basically 30% of our graduates didn't start 6th grade with us. They come in after 6th grade. I thought it was very interesting that there was 48 kids of our graduating class came from Wasatch Elementary, and only 18 came from Provo Peaks. Not all of that is not just achievement, that's mobility. The people who went to 6th grade at Provo Peaks they've gone out other places. So their mobility is great. But it was, he has the dot on every address of the kids who graduated from Provo that went on to BYU. He goes through every neighborhood, every school. It's very good and very enlightening to our teachers. A lot of times that opening meeting, they think it's just a cheerleading session that they're not going to learn. It's taking up time that they want to be setting up the classrooms. They're reluctant to be there. I thought every one of our teachers was very engaged about learning about the students that they teach and about the city. That's what they were learning about. And it was good for them to learn. There was hopeful things that they went, this is what we've got to dig in and really help them.
So our next item is an update on the retention pond construction adjacent to Wasatch Elementary School.
And me. So it's my first time here. I introduced myself. My name is Rob Hunter. I just moved to Provo and started working for the city about 3 months ago as a public services engineer. So actually, Kiwanis and the Wasatch Basins are my first project that I didn't do the design, but I took over right after it had started on construction. I took over the management of that. So where we're at right now on Wasatch is the sod is down.
Looks
The-
great.
Thank you. That's good. The plan, I guess, starting out with the sod, the plan is that right now they're doing some pretty deep watering, so it's pretty soggy in there. If you go and want to walk around in there, you may want to decide on which pair of shoes, galoshes, something like that, because they're soaking it so that the roots will go down deep and it can establish. The contractor was a little behind, about a week behind in getting that sod down in terms of how long we would like to establish, and so I've talked with the principal, and we'll be talking to her again, trying to get a hold of her this afternoon, just to verify that, to keep them off that field for the first week. I guess it's shorter days, and so the conversation that I had with her was just having them off that first week wouldn't be too big of a deal, but just to try to get that established and make sure that the grass takes hold. Within the actual parking lot itself, we are working right up to the day of. The contractor is going to be out there this weekend. Anybody who drives by, you're going to see that there's still some stuff done that needs to be done. Even the paving through the parking area will be on Monday. But we do have, we are firmly committed. We will be out of there to where parents can go in and go through that south entrance on the southwest parking area, do that loop, and come out the north side of that southwest parking. That will be in there. The likelihood is that what that's going to look like is we're going to go through and pave, or we're not. The contractor is going to go through and pave with asphalt through, just because of the timing of everything, asphalt through the driveway into 900 East. And then to have that set for this next week. And then he's going to need to go in that next weekend after Friday after school, cut out the asphalt that goes through the driveway and the sidewalk area, cut that back out, put some higher early strength concrete, and let that set for a couple of days to where that'll be the final product. So they're, like I said, we're working up right to, unfortunately, to the deadline. We would like to be ahead instead of behind, but that's just sometimes with unknowns in construction, that's how it works sometimes. But the parking lot will be open. The last thing, I guess, with the sod too, is that one of the conversations I'm going to have with the principal is that what we'll probably do is keep the fencing up as there right now, the temporary fence along the retention basin there for Wasatch for that first week, just to keep the kids off from there. I'll talk with her and make sure which you would rather do, but that's what our thought was, just to keep the kids from running on there, and like I said, just let it establish for another week before they start running on there. So with that, questions?
I have a question. So just the average water that's going to be maybe pushed into those basins, how much standing water do you think we would have at any given time? Where it's going to be open, where there are going to be kids there, and I'm not speaking about like the 50-year storms or the huge storms that will fill Rock Canyon Basin, but just on a yearly, regular, normal stuff, what can we expect to see in those as far as water?
Well, there's two things. Is the way that the basins are designed, they're basically, the pipes will be able to carry the capacity of the target flow that they're trying to get to. They'll be able to carry the majority of that without engaging the basins. And the Kiwanis should be engaged before the Wasatch Elementary Basin is engaged. So in terms of your everyday storm events, you shouldn't see standing water in there. The design, now going all the way up to the design storm is the 25, and even in there, the deepest that it gets is 3 feet. That's our criteria here in Provo, just so that there isn't a safety hazard, a huge safety hazard. And it's 3 feet that is supposed to, as soon as the storm passes, it starts going down. So there shouldn't be standing water in there for days. It's a storm event comes through, a really, heavy deluge comes in, you may see a foot or two, but as soon as the storm passes, it'll go back down. So.
And then you said it's a 25-year storm?
That's the 25-year. That's the local, our local standard, which is actually even a higher standard than some of the surrounding communities, but something that we felt like was important. So yeah, your daily, ones that you see all the time throughout the year, you should not see standing water in those basins.
So the two are connected, but you'll fill up the one before the Wasatch one, and then as they drain, it'll be the same process. It'll empty out of Kiwanis first, and then the Wasatch, or
it should actually empty out. Basically at the same time. If they're both filled, as soon as it starts, as soon as that pressure, like I said, it's designed to allow a certain flow through, and then once it hits that, it's got some backflow to where it'll it'll flow back up into the basins. So as soon as that pressure is gone, you know, as soon as the peak of the storm passes and that pressure is gone and it starts emptying out, it'll empty right out into there. So we're trying to minimize the, you know, obviously it's first and foremost, that's a school field, and it's that south field in Kiwanis is a pretty heavily used field. We want to keep it open for everybody to be able to use the vast majority of the time. It's only during very large storm events that it'll temporarily be filled and then go right back out.
I haven't seen the Wasatch one, so the dugouts, I'm assuming, are gone and the field is gone, or just the sod.
It's sod, yeah, it's sod right now. Like I said, that was our before I got here. That was the agreement that we come to, that we go through and resod it. And there's going to be the only difference now, I guess, besides the sod, is that there's going to be an asphalt access road right against the fence on the west side, so that for maintenance and everything, we can get back in there. But it's going to be open field, but that's not to say that, you know, the school can't go back in and put some ball fields back in there, you know, do some areas or put some playground equipment or something like that. You know, we would work with them, and I'm not sure if that's in the cards down there, but right now it's grass.
When I drove past, I thought it was an improvement. And lawn, I mean, that's a big healthy lawn that looks great. It looks like it will be a great place for kids to, you know, soccer.
Yeah.
They were always worried about the dugouts, and that was a wall barrier. They couldn't see what was happening behind the wall. They had to send teachers out to find a kid if he would decided he didn't want class anymore. So I don't know if the principal wants the dugouts back at all.
Yeah.
It looks like a great spot for kickball and everything else. So.
One of the things that we've had questions about, and I don't know if anybody here, but just thinking about some of the questions that we had right now, they're both inflow and outlet structures. Like I said, it pushes back up into the basin and then goes back out the same way. Right now, those are open. Those are going to have grates over the top, so they still need to be installed within the next week or two. But they're going to have grates installed to where kids can't crawl up into the storm drain and, you know, fall down into a manhole or something. They'll be covered. It'll be child safe. So.
I noticed you mentioned grates. Is a grate going, the retention pond in front of Adjournment Elementary, the new one. Is that grate going to go in soon? You know,
I'm not over that project, so I'd have to ask. I don't know off the top of my head.
Thank you. Our next item is a discussion of a formalized process to share development and planning information.
Yeah, and we, if we could know, I mean, we appreciate Dixon's emails that come to us.
Sometimes we don't, well, mostly don't hear from you. Occasionally hear from a council member, but you are always welcome to ping us to know you're alive.
And we also know that those things are going on, but if we were just wondering if we could establish maybe a little more direct flow, so it didn't feel like we were overhearing about upcoming developments that you hear. I know that the Shelley passes our executive, the superintendent's executive assistant. She passes on sort of the planning commission minutes and things like that. But it seems to me that in the turn of the economy, there's you have a few development things in front of the council or coming up, and certainly we want to be able to serve those neighborhoods and make sure that we don't have a kindergarten class with 40 kids unexpectedly, or anything that you can do, even completion, construction updates or anything. If we could. We were just wondering about that process because it seems a little ad hoc. Like, well, these things are available, you go find them, and we just wondered how we could just work on that just a little better. And I think maybe as part of that discussion, number 7 too, that could be brought in with. Certainly, we're gathering data all the time. You mentioned Buddy's data, but we recently had some demographic data done that we'd be happy to share with you, and so that you can serve the city better. But in going forward, we've got some planning to do. That we'll need some information. You'll need information. That's we were wondering if there was something we could establish where maybe we're not doing the same thing with the public dollars, that we could share some of the burdens together. It would be in your interest and our interest together. So, item 6 is sort of what's happening now, and item 7 is about looking over the horizon a bit, how we could share that business a little bit between each other.
So, kind of along the same vein, we've done several neighborhood plans or combined neighborhood plans. We did the southeast area, we're doing the west, the southwest right now. And my experience on the southeast area plan was we gathered the known interested parties, whether it be neighborhood chairs or whoever had shown up to the meetings. They sent out a notice, and then those people who were interested, a committee was selected. But that committee didn't include anyone from the school board or from the local stakes. And so we didn't have principals or teachers or people that would know what you're dealing with. And really, as a community, we have to think about more than just streets and setbacks and buildings. We have to deal with the people and the social structures within the community. So it's really important that we work together.
Yeah.
Versus, I thought about that same thing when you move a school to the west side, the city's scrambling and millions of dollars are going to roads and those kinds of things to make sure that there's connectivity and infrastructure, and then we're changing where we're putting sewer and those kinds of things. And I think that it would be wise to have, I don't know, and Wayne, maybe you have suggestion. I'll put you on the spot, but I think it would be wise, and we have these meetings, but I think that maybe ongoing, if there's some sort of, I don't know if it's a committee or whatever it is, but so there's communication going back and forth, so there's as much advanced planning as possible for some of these things that are coming up, because it does affect both entities in various ways. And so we approve a development, and all of a sudden you're scrambling to find ways to, put children in classrooms, and then vice versa, like, you move a school or whatever, and we're trying to put in roads that we hadn't planned on. So I think there does need to be as much communication as possible going back and forth, and maybe this quarterly meeting isn't doing it. And so I would support having something more, frequent, more hands-on, more back and forth, whether that's community development that communicates our development, if that's really mostly what you're concerned about, or if there's some way we can facilitate that. I think that's really important. And engineering, it'd be important to have engineering, be part of that. I don't know. But I agree. I think it's a critical need, really.
And there's also challenges in that. I think in two large developments in our community that were approved and basically they ran into a hiccup. And so they say, oh, we're still doing it, we're still coming, we're still working on this, and we're just a few months behind. I was surprised to hear that we had a hiccup on, for example, the mix at one time. I thought they'd be going long before now, and they had a hiccup. I understand there's some issues. So we just need to, I agree, we just need to coordinate.
I think, yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay. It does seem that community development would be probably the good point group to kind of hit that up. But whatever the administration thinks would be best there. I really like the idea of collaborating on the information gathering and demographic research and all of that stuff. We go really in depth when we do those neighborhood plans. But I think it's good to look broader as well. And so I think anytime either entity is going to be investing resources into some of that research, I think we should have a conversation. Say, well, this is what we're thinking of doing. is there any tweaks to it that would make it more valuable, share back and forth, and so we're not being redundant and maybe improve the overall picture.
I think maybe if we sort of prioritize that gathering of data, that might help us, because as Gary said, you know, it's hard to know which metric to track. Do you track building permits? Do you track approvals? Which before the school district engages and actually makes a change in plan? Where we jump? Welcome there.
Shoot. So much for a graceful.
But if we are really concentrated on knowing our city well, for both parties, so that you were making good decisions and we were making good decisions, at least it would give us a good understanding. So we can prioritize that one a little bit ahead of you know what's going on. Maybe the other one will be a natural flow of what's happening. But I don't know, you know, where to you know, what the next step would be on that. But if maybe if you consider some of the things that you information you want to gather, certainly we have some current information that we'll try and get to you as best we can, right, Superintendent, and then we'll outline some of the things that we'll need over the next 10 years. That information that we'll need, and maybe we could coordinate that a little bit better.
Just something that when I was board president and Gary was chair, we would meet prior to this meeting together and discuss maybe some of the situations and things we need to make sure we're hitting this one. So I know we as a school board, we send out an email. Is there anything you want to talk about and discuss? But it was helpful because I already talked to him and he's told me his concerns and I've told him our concerns. So we were able to really narrow it down and be point specific on our topics. And that helped.
So Wayne, could you?
Yeah, let me just share a couple of thoughts. And the superintendent and I were just chatting about trying to define exactly what would be the best information to share and when. We have very good in-depth information. We have a weekly meeting we call the Coordinators Review Council, where we look at every project that's been submitted to the city and where it is in process and so on. That's pretty deep. It's an investment of an hour and a half a week. Probably not something necessarily any of your staff might want to do, but maybe you would. And if you would, we'd be very happy to have you have a seat at the table with our CRC group. We have a pretty good high-level discussion, again, as we've talked about neighborhood plans and those kinds of things. We can certainly do a better job of involving school district and school board in those. The middle is kind of where our data has been lacking, and that's somewhere between the plan and the details of an engineering analysis on a given project. And our Provo 360 project that we're doing now, we will have a go live on our community development package in October, where everything will be map based. And so we'll have the opportunity, if you have a login and an account with us and a password, and we give you permissions to get wherever you need to go, you can actually just get on the computer, look at a map, and click on every dot that you want where there's an application pending. And you can sort those by rental dwelling licenses, by construction projects, by planning projects, rebuilding remodels, and those will all be searchable just like they are right now for the council in our GIS system, where you just click a box and you'll open that layer of GIS and it'll have current projects up to the minute. And so again, that might be the best tool for your staff. So at will, you can just go in and look and see what's going on in the city. Now, again, our go live's not till October. The public face of that will probably be launched about the first of the year. But we'd certainly be happy to, if you have staff members that would like to, be happy to give you an account into our system and let you have an opportunity to go in and query and learn all you want to about what's happening and just do it all geo-based. So we'll be glad to do that. And again, if there's some other things we can do, if we wanted to have more regular meetings between your planning staff and our planning staff, we'd be very happy to do that. set up some kind of more regular interaction at the staff-to-staff level and allow that information then to float up to the board and the council. Any of those things would be good, and Keith and I will spend some time on that and try to figure out exactly what's the right mechanism for getting you what you need.
That'll be great. You know, we coming up, we're going to be looking at, we still have at least one seismically challenged elementary school that needs to be addressed. We have a junior high sort of a bubble in our population that we're worried about coming up. We're going to be spending some resources in so that we'll probably be asking the public to again, I mean, the only mechanism we have to really build a building is to ask the public to help us. And so we'll be engaging that process at some point, and we need to know what we need to ask. So we're going to be expending some dollars on some things, and as the superintendent sort of gathers that, you know, we'd like to be able to go, well, what do you have, so that maybe we don't have to be redundant, or does this help you in some way, or do you already have something, so the scope of who we hire can be different, and we just want to share, you know, the resources that we have. We're spending the same people's money, so.
Yes, we are.
So
good work on that. Thank you.
It might be worth mentioning that the follow-up to the West Side Committee is about to happen. They're getting ready to take the principles that the committee and the council adopted and then put them into a master plan. So that process is about to start.
Great. Appreciate it. Thanks.
So are you looking to bond to go out for a bond for one school, or are you looking for the four that are? If it would be a bond, it would be for junior high, certainly Wasatch Elementary, and the needs of our now 40-year-old school. And there's going to be, when we open, you know, just going through where there's dirt and dust, as soon as we let people inside, they're going to say, wow, we built this Taj Mahal of Provo High, even though we've cut back. This is a 900-seat auditorium that people will say it's not big enough. And we've made some hard decisions on that school as well. But Tempe is going to want something the same. And it has some needs. And it's not just in needs. It'll have some needs that will need to be addressed. Because, you know, we talked about a long time about the lifespan of the school is 50 years, and we're getting there with TICU really quickly. And so we need to be able to look over that hill, and so I don't think it will be as, I don't know the size that will be some of the research that we're happening, but we have some immediate needs that we know about from our last study that we need to take care of really quickly in junior high and Wasatch. And we were, you know, you could say we were too timid to ask for 3 times the largest bond that ever went in front of the public. But we were doing, that list was some terrible math that we cannot recognize that, you know, yeah, that's a dangerous school that's still dangerous, and we need to take care of it.
There are no immediate plans to bond.
We've just got to start looking over the hill. If that takes you know, most of us have been in that. That's a lot of effort, and we can't do that. Decide this in a year to do that, but we've got to start looking forward. Even if, you know, when is the best possible time to do that.
Previously, you talked about the savings that you would have by not pouring money into, you know, dilapidated buildings. And are you seeing any of that?
Yeah. So remember, most of that savings was from Provo High, and we do not have Provo High online yet. But we have seen some savings in our capital fund. We've also seen a change in our environment about keeping our teachers and everything else that we're trying to take care of the whole city as best we can in the interest of the city. But we have seen some of our capital needs, you know, and our fund balances continue to be very healthy. We're not worried about our bond rating because we're we're spending too much money, I don't think, and
So in fact, it was just updated a couple of months ago and it stayed at AA2.
so we're feeling really, really good about that.
Okay, if I may,
Yeah.
one of the big concerns that we're confronting right now, and I think everyone is there's such construction inflation going on. Our last two elementary schools that we're building right now are actually coming in a little bit over the initially projected budget because of those things. So we do have a good fund balance, we can cover it, but it's just exploding, and our facilities manager, Mark Wheeler, doesn't see it subsiding anytime soon. So it continues to be a challenge.
Even building one school, there's no such thing as a neighborhood building one school. The expense is such on anyone that the whole community has to build one school. We've supported other parts of the community that, you know, even if we had the money in the bank, we need the whole community's support to say that. We have to do that we have to generate that support that every other need is being met before they'll give us permission to spend that kind of money. And so we continue to work on all of those things. We feel like we're making great progress. And this community is, of course, you know, tremendously supportive of our schools, but they also exist in an environment where they don't recognize that the schools they visit and they in Orem and Springville and go, this is a new school, they don't recognize that their tax is a little bit different. I still hear people say, man, you need to combine with Alpine School District so that we can have the same schools. And I'm like, you're not prepared to pay their taxes at all. And we'll make those cases going forward. We intend to stay on our sort of handshake agreement schedule of truth and taxation on the odd years. Is it the even or the odds? Next year. The evens. We are on the even year. That we'll do that again. That will be for capital needs and for our personnel. And we intend to sort of stay on that schedule and to keep up with inflation and not be behind. At the same time, you know, we're proud that we don't have to catch up with taxes everywhere else, but we do need to keep even. We don't have to be in front. We have to keep even. We can't fall behind because our residents expect the same service. And we believe we can do the same service for less, but not dramatically less. So, yes. Yes, I think we've done that. Yeah.
Yes, so the last item we inadvertently have already talked about. So are we close to conclusion? Is there anything else? If there's no objections, we could adjourn.
Great.
City council members, please do get one of those books for me. Thank you. Do that. So I email that to
But I was trained about